Welcome to the Here and Now Show. I am your host, Lavonda Ray. And if you tuned into my Here and Now Show, you know that the Here and Now Show is a place where I've taken real life events and turned them into a positive living. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them in the message box because all voices matter. And with that being said, let's start the show. Welcome back, my family. I am glad to be here. I feel blessed right now, and as you should too. If this is your first time joining, welcome to the family. Around here, we show love. We tell stories that have purposes. We spend time together, whether it's you're driving your car, or you walking to work, or cleaning your house. I won't tell nobody. All right. If you just hiding away from your boss, my lips is sealed. But thank you guys for being around me. Thank you for healing with me because on this show we heal, we encourage each other, and remind each other that life doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. Have you ever let fear talk you out of something you really wanted? Like like a job or a relationship, starting a business or going back to school, speaking up or moving to another city or maybe just believing in yourself because fear has a funny way of making us think that staying stuck is somewhere safer, is a lot safer than change. Today I'm talking about don't let fear drive into your life. And I'm talking about, love yourself out loudly and the power of walking away. Now that's a mouthful, but somebody listening today might need to hear this. So, as you guys know, I like a little jazz before I get into it. So, we're going to jazz and vibe it out for a few seconds, and then we're going to get into it. So, let's just jazz it out. And if you know me, you know that jazz sets the stage, sets the mood for me. So, let's jazz it out for a few seconds. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, as you guys see that we're talking about fear. So, let's talk about fear. Fear. Even saying that sounds a little scary, because fear, most of us, you can't explain it. You can't point it out. You can't see it, but you damn sure can feel it. To me, fear is just a word, a feeling. Fear comes so strong. It's a feeling that's followed by action. So when you start to feel something, now your actions start to show. And in that moment, when you're in fear, you ever had that moment when you're in fear, your hands start to shake and you're starting to sweat and your heartbeat is beating so hard. And you're wondering if everyone can hear your heartbeat because it's beating so hard. It's like tuku, 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 tuku. It's like everyone can hear it, but they can't. It's like your stomach is in knots. And then here comes a panic attack and now you're panicking and your mind is running like 1,000 miles per hour and you haven't and you're making up stories in your head that haven't even happened yet. Hello, how are you doing? Glad to have you. Fear will whisper things to you like, glad to have you aboard. I'm glad to have you aboard. Okay, so like I said, fear will whisper things to you like, you what if you fail? Or fear will tell you, what if they laugh at you? Or what if they don't support you? What if you embarrass yourself? The crazy part of this thing is none of these things has not even happened because of those thoughts that keep replaying in your mind. Eventually you'll start to believe it and you'll convince yourself of the lie and not the truth because fear has stepped in and is telling you you can't do this and you can't do that. And after hearing it for so long, you believe it, you know. For fear wants you to believe, that you are you are too old or you're too broken or it's too late or you're not good enough. Fear is not your friend. Okay. Fear doesn't come to help. Fear comes to stop all possibilities. We don't want that. Fear puts in your body and mind of a fight or flight. So when the fear comes for me, I'm in fight or flight mode, right? Now your heart's racing and you're not breathing right, and that changes, and your thoughts are louder than your feelings. And now you're standing in there thinking, do I run or do I fight or do I flight? You know, and because I've been there before, so I'm speaking from experience. I had moments to where fear told me to quit, but I didn't. Told me don't write that book, or don't start this podcast. Don't share your stories. People are going to judge you. But then I had to remind myself of something. Instead of letting fear drive my life, I raised my hand and I surrendered, not to the fear, but I surrendered to God because you were not created to be in prison by your fear. You just wasn't. You wasn't created to be in prison by fear. You know, you were created to live in faith. You know, you were created to understand that fear does knock at your door and it will, but you absolutely do not have to invite fear in. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you. You don't have to invite the fear in. It's gonna knock at your door. Fear will come to you, but you don't have to invite it in. You definitely don't have to sit at the dinner table with fear, or you don't have to leave it and let it control your life. You control your life. Thank you, and I'm sure you are very pretty too. So if you have fear, if fear is talking to you louder than your dreams, let me remind you, fear visits, but it doesn't stay. Faith has a final stay, has a final say. So again, the fear can visit you, but it doesn't have the final stay, but your faith do. By the way, thank you. I like cake actually. I just like strawberry cake. And because you know, and also when visit fear, it doesn't say that it lets you know again that faith has its final word because not saying that fear would disappear and pretending that it doesn't exist because it definitely does exist, but it shows the courage isn't being absent from fear, right? Choosing to move on and trusting God, even when fear is present, it reminds us that there are other possibilities. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Funny story I have. I call this the automatic doors, right? Have you ever walked into one of those automatic stores where the doors open for you? I mean, you feel so special. They just open the doors for you, right? But this time you go to that door and it didn't open. And now you're looking there all goofy and you're waving your hands in like, hey, let me in. Like you're directing traffic and then you step forward and then you step back and still nothing, right? And then somebody comes along and they walks up and wow, the door opens. And then you're standing there like, oh my, it worked for them. I was standing in the wrong way. I was standing in the wrong area. I did not follow the instructions. I did not follow the instructions. I was standing in a completely different direction. Come to find out, I was standing in the wrong exit, not the enter. And I could, and not the enter button. And I could read, I can read, don't get me wrong, I can see big as hell, big as day, I definitely can read. But as many times in life, we've done things that we see is in front of us and we still take that chance and do it. The door wasn't being, me beating on the door was never meant for me. I'm banging on this door, I'm waving up in the air, and it was never meant for me to go to that door. We were frustrated and we were tired, and you were wondering why things are not opening. Meanwhile, life is saying, take a few steps over. There's another door. Sometimes rejection, it isn't punishment. Sometimes it's redirecting us. You understand that? Don't let fear keep you from your opportunities. My chair is sliding down. Don't let fear keep you from your opportunities. I am not perfect. My lamp just dropped, but we're going to be okay. So don't let fear keep you from, moving forward. It actually gives you redirection. Okay. Don't lose your opportunity because of fear, because you have a chance. Yes. There has been times in my life where I've questioned, whether I was good enough. Could I really be writing books? Could I really build a business? And I did, and I could, and I continue. I really started, thinking, oh, could I really do this podcast? Would people really listen? And guess what? People were really listening. Yes. If I had to listen to fear, I wouldn't be standing here right now behind this microphone today telling you guys that every chapter in your life started with the choice to move forward, right? Even when I didn't even have the answers, I still moved forward. I showed up and I did what I had to do. And sometimes, if that's where you are today, if you're waiting and you're wondering and you're second guessing, you don't need to do everything every day before you take the first step. The first step is saying, I can tell myself one more time, I can do this, that it is not over. Have you ever grabbed a shopping cart at the grocery store, and while you're grabbing the cart, the wheels is going because it wants to go to the left, but you want to go to the right, but the cart is determined to go to the right, right? And then you finally realize that the cart was broken. It just wasn't the right cart for you. How many times have we did that? How many times have you held on to something simply because you were comfortable with it or you had already started with it so you didn't want to move? We do that in friendships. We do that in relationships, habits, bad jobs. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let go of what's not working for you. To pick up something that would help you carry you along your way, not something that's going to drop you along the way. I have a question, because sometimes, and here's a question. Why do some people stay in places where they're unhappy? Sometimes fear is starting by saying, I'm not afraid to be alone or what people might say about me. Being able to say that you're going to keep going on even though you're hurting because that is protecting you. You are protecting yourself. But if you continue to allow that hurt, you are just prolonging the pain. And another question was, can you love someone and still walk away? Yes, absolutely, you can. Sometimes walking away is not an act of love for someone else. It's an act for yourself to love yourself. For sure that I love myself enough to walk away. Sometimes it's either good for the other person too. We walked away. This is good for both of us. We healed out of that. Second question was, how do I know when it's time to leave? Um, when you know it's time to leave when you have lost all of your peace. Okay, when you keep trying to make everybody else comfortable while you're being uncomfortable, or when respect has disappeared, and when you have become a stranger to yourself, that is when you know that you have to leave. Okay, so stop being at the table, or stop sitting at the table, or stop waiting for people that constantly annoy you. Build your own table. It can be done. You build your own table. You know what I'm saying? Invite your own people. Invite people that celebrate you. Don't be around people that just tolerate you. Be around those who celebrate you. You know, and sometimes it can be scary. It is very scary, but I encourage you to take your life, pray about it, and see what's waiting on the other side because there's always goodness on the other side. Don't be afraid to make that final decision. Don't let fear make the choices for you. Let faith, let wisdom, let self respect, let hope lead you the way. Because every time you choose peace over chaos, guess what? You're choosing yourself, believe it or not. So there are a few more questions that I have that were essentially sent to me. And so, throughout the show, I try to ask these questions. And at any time, if you want to comment to these questions or answer them, feel free, or you can do it after the show. Um, and essentially, I really like it when people engage in the questioning because someone who might be feeling stuck or feeling, real down and out, your comment or your story or your encouragement could possibly change someone's whole life. The question was, what's the one thing you no longer fear and is not going to let control your life? What is the one fear you will no longer let control your life? I say the one fear that I will no longer let control my life is speaking up. Speaking up for yourself. That's a good one. Speak up for yourself. Say how you feel with no excuses, No, I'm sorry. Just no, I'm saying this for myself and I'm standing on this and leave it at that. What is one thing that you generally love about yourself? Um, I like how strong I have became in the last 5 years of my life. I like how I generally have became a stronger, better person with understanding. You know how some people do things, but essentially, I generally am impressed with how long I have came from where I started. Um, and again, you can write down your answers, share it with someone you trust. Leave a comment after the show. I love to hear your response. I love to hear all of those things. How many opportunities have you missed because you were waiting for someone to feel comfortable? So you missed an opportunity. How many of those have you missed doing that? That is a question because confidence doesn't always come first. Sometimes confidence shows up after you've taken that first step. Don't fear. Write a story. Don't fear. Write a story that God's never meant for you to have this terrible life. God meant for you to have a great life. So keep writing your story and don't be in fear of that because fear will only keep you stuck and bonded. You don't want that. So stop letting fear hold your pen. Pick it up. Write it down yourself. You don't want to look back 5 years and say, "Oh, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have did this, or I wish I could have did that better." Because that's the difference between living and existing. So your comeback is going to be loving yourself loudly, not quietly. You know, um, Loving yourself whenever you don't feel good or when you don't look so good. Or when and I don't just mean loving yourself when you are feeling good or when you gained a little weight or when you lost a little weight. You celebrate those things too. Or talking about loving yourself on the good days and the bad days. Family, this has been um, one of those conversations that I hope stays with you long after the show fades out. Because remember, fear can ride in the back seat if you wanted to, but you don't have to hand over your keys to fear. Love yourself loudly, not because you're perfect, not because you never made any mistakes, but because you're worth love. You're worth respect, you're worth kindness, you're worth grace. And finally, never underestimate the power of walking away, right? Anything that steals your peace, that steals your joy, walk away. It's time to give that up. It's not for you. Sometimes the first step walking forward is saying that I'm going to change my life this way. That is my first step. And keep walking and keep praying, and you will be successful. You will have a wonderful, happy life if you try those things. If you enjoy, and even so, if you do enjoy, this particular show, share it, invite it, invite them to join the conversation every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm here, even with bonus shows on every other Saturday. This is a platform built on one simple belief: every voice matters. You know, and and in order to I know that life, as you get older, you start to think things like, you think and life gets older, it gets, is it lipstick on my teeth? Life gets older, you think life is going to get simpler and simpler. Well, it's supposed to a little bit, but it's always going to be those failure moments where you feel like you haven't done your best and you have actually done your best. You raised your children, and if you didn't raise children, you successfully made it to past 18, 21, you know, the job that you have, I hope you're happy at it, love others because misery loves company. We don't do that over here. We love respect and we love each other. And don't forget about Marshall's Books and More. I also want to share that with you guys. That merch is available on my webpage. Hello, how are you doing today? It's glad to have you. I'm almost through the show, but I'm glad to have you. How are you doing? I hope everything is good for you, Mrs. So I hope life is great for you, and I hope that you have got any plans for this upcoming weekend. Because I'm about to cast off, about to stream off. I've been on here for a little while. But again, Marshall's Books and More, if you're interested in reading or gathering any more of my books, you can find them on Marshall's Books and More. That's the webpage, Marshall's Books and More LLC. There's books, merchandise, things for children, kids, women, men, accessories. We have that. And also, I will have in September the merch for the Here and Now show. Thank you very much. So make sure you guys try to check that merch out. I will be wearing some in about mid September. Also, around my birthday, it is Libra season. So if you're a Libra, hello Libras, we are out here living our life. Um, and so, yes, Marshall's Books and More, the Here and Now podcast, merch. There will be t shirts, mugs, ink pens, you name it, anything you need to tune into the show or to represent or to support the Here and Now show will be truly blessed. I have a section under my profile where you can leave, where my email is there, and you can email me and say, hey, Lavonda, I would like to get this product, and I really like this one, and shipping and handling is nothing, a little small fee. Of course, it's a fee for everything, but having a positive attitude is free. Um, Conquer your fears. I'm not saying that, that you're not supposed to have your fears, that you don't get scared, because I've had fears of, simple fears of, getting hired for a new job. And the fear is, will they hire me? Um, am I going to get it? So that's kind of fear mixed with anxiety. And those two mixes are never no good, because the fear jumps into the anxiety. Now you're panicking, and your heart's racing, and you're thinking all these overthought thinks. And you're thinking all this overthought. Oh, maybe I won't get a job. Maybe I will get a job. Maybe they will hire me. Maybe I'm not good enough. And at the end of the day, you are good enough. You are very good enough. And don't let anyone ever tell you that. When I said the power of walking away, that is a very, very strong thing to do as an individual when you are putting on your shoes and your shirt and your jacket and you're grabbing your go bag for life, walking away. That walking away says, I love myself enough to not be in this situation no more. I love myself not to deal with this situation anymore. And I love myself so I can grow and learn and heal. Because healing from relationships that you thought that would last for a lifetime, the healing part is hard, but we make it. And that makes you being able to have testimonies or be able to look at someone and be like, you know what, I was there once before. I don't want to be in that type of relationship again. It wasn't for me, but it gave me a lesson. And I've had a lot of those incidents, even with lessons with friends, sometimes family. Sometimes, your family will do that to you because they know you better than anyone else. They know you better than that outside friend. They actually woke up with you every Christmas and seen you grow. So they kind of know what buttons to push. So family isn't perfect. And if, there's people in your families that's taking away your peace and draining you, you got to let them go. Love them from a distance. That's the same thing with a friend or a current relationship or relationship that you finally got out of. And I'm going to tell you, congratulations that you got out of that. Like, it's hard, and then you think about, oh, I got to start over, but you're starting over from experience. You're not starting over from scratch. You're starting over from experience, wisdom, and it makes you understand how to deal with life even more so with other people as you grow into life. Because, when you're young, life is simple. It should be, right? It should be simple. When you're young, you should be able to be scot free and run outside and play with your friends and come into your home where you're protected and you're loved and you're nourished and you're treated well. So you can take that same seed and put it into your children or into your everyday life because you was already shown that, hey, This is what life can give if you follow these rules. And this is what life can give if you follow your own rules. And at the end of the day, you can follow your own rules and be the head, not the tail of everything that you're doing, but do it wisely. Do it wisely and make sure you got whenever you're doing something that is important, put your best foot forward because there's always going to be someone that says, "Nah, I don't think you can do it. I don't think that's a good idea." It may not be a good idea for you, but it's a good idea for me. Maybe it didn't work for you, but it's a good idea and it's working for me. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a blessed show. The Here and Now show is steadily growing, and it's because of you guys. So please feel free to always like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment because your girl loves comments and I love positive vibes. So, with that being said, we are 25 minutes out of the show. I will be back next Tuesday with a hot topic, something we all can relate to, laugh about, and maybe we can heal, grow, cry if we need together, and just make this one space a place where all voices matter, no judgment, strictly knowing that you matter. And I love you. I love all of you. For those that didn't tune in this week and those that did tune in this week, it's all the same. I'll see you guys again. I'm out. Thank you again, Lavonda Ray.